Welcome, listeners, to our deep dives into The Art of the Good Life by Rolf Dobelli.
Yes.
This book is packed with 52 mental tools for navigating life's complexities.
Yeah.
And I was initially drawn to it. I don't know about you, but I was drawn to the idea of having these,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
actionable strategies laid out. And Dobelli's background as a successful entrepreneur and investor kind of adds a layer of like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's been there.
Yeah, he's not just
Yeah.
an armchair philosopher.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think there's a definite connection between clear thinking and a fulfilling life. And Dobelli's approach kind of resonates with me. The idea that by sharpening your mental framework, you can lead a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
in this deep dive, we're going to uncover some of the most surprising and useful tools from the book
Mm-hmm.
and really see how they can apply to your life, like starting now. So the first one that we're going to talk about is mental accounting. Have you ever noticed that people tend to treat money differently depending on where it comes from?
Sure.
Like, for example, if you find like a $20 bill on the street,
Yeah.
you're more likely to,
Mhm.
spend it frivolously
Yeah.
than if you earn that $20 through hard work.
Yeah, it's amazing how our brains compartmentalize money, even though it's all, fungible.
Yeah.
But this fallacy of mental accounting can actually be used to our advantage. For example, Dobelli pays his parking tickets from a pre-allocated donation fund.
Oh, that's interesting.
So he turns
Excellent.
what's usually a negative experience into a charitable act.
Yeah. It's reframing it. I love that.
Totally.
So thinking about this idea of mental accounting, have you ever encountered like similar instances of it in your own life?
Oh, for sure.
Like
Like,
you have like a
I have different accounts for like entertainment, vacations,
Oh, yeah.
emergencies.
Yeah. So how could you use this tool of mental accounting to maybe reframe some of those everyday annoyances into something more,
Yeah.
positive?
Or beneficial. Yeah, I think it's all about shifting perspective.
Yeah.
Instead of viewing those annoyances as drains on your resources, you can view them as opportunities to contribute to something you care about.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So the next tool that we're going to talk about is the power of pledges.
Oh, yeah, pledges. I love this concept.
Yeah.
Dobelli argues that strong commitments,
Mm.
like personal vows, are incredibly powerful, especially for overcoming decision fatigue and achieving long-term goals that often seem daunting.
So a perfect example of this is Clayton Christensen, who's a Harvard professor and author who refuses to work weekends.
I've heard of it.
He's like, I'm not working weekends. That's for my family. And he protects that time fiercely,
Yeah.
even if it means what?
Okay.
Like starting his workday at 3 a.m.
Wow, that's commitment.
Yeah. So this idea of pledges really leads into this next concept, which is the circle of dignity.
Yeah. I like how Dobelli frames it.
So tell me about the circle of dignity.
So the circle of dignity is all about defining your non-negotiables. Like, what are those inviolable boundaries? Like the set of values that you simply won't compromise on no matter what.
So for Dobelli,
Yeah.
this includes things like refusing to let money be the sole decision-making factor in his life,
Right.
never posting pictures of his children online, and never speaking ill of loved ones.
It's about building a solid foundation for a good life.
Right.
Based on principles that instill a sense of integrity and self-respect.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because,
Yeah.
he's very clear about what his circle of dignity is, but he also acknowledges that, like, even he can't always rationally justify all of the principles within it.
Yeah.
But he's like, this is important to me.
And that's the key. It's about defining that circle clearly for yourself, even if the reasons behind those principles might not be fully articulated or even logical.
So I think this is a really powerful concept,
Me
and
too.
it kind of begs the question for our listeners, like, what are your non-negotiables? What are
Yeah.
the things that you absolutely will not compromise on,
Yeah.
no matter what? Because defining your circle of dignity can be incredibly liberating. But it can also, lead to some conflicts or hurt feelings. But ultimately,
Yeah.
it's about creating a life that truly aligns with your authentic self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So moving on, let's talk about black box thinking.
Okay.
This is a concept inspired by aviation. So imagine this.
Oh.
When an airplane crashes, investigators don't just focus on the tragedy.
Right.
They meticulously examine the debris, analyze the black box recordings to figure out what went wrong and how to prevent similar accidents from happening again.
Right. It's about learning from mistakes.
Exactly.
So how do we apply this concept of black box thinking to our personal growth?
Well, instead of dwelling on our mistakes and beating ourselves up, we can choose to view them as opportunities for improvement.
So like if you blow your budget 1 month, or you
Figure it out.
send a harshly worded email
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
dwelling on that and feeling bad about it, you can kind of step back and say, okay, what happened here? What can I learn from this, and how can I prevent it from happening again?
Yeah, acknowledging the mistake is just the first step. The real growth comes from actually acting on those lessons and future-proofing yourself.
And there's this great quote, I think it's from Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner,
Yeah.
that really kind of illustrates this idea. He says, if you won't attack a problem while it's solvable and wait until it's unfixable, you can argue that you're so damn foolish that you deserve the problem.
Ouch!
All right.
He doesn't mince words.
He does not mince words, so. Let's talk about this idea of the two selves.
Oh, this is a fascinating one.
Yeah.
So Dobelli proposes that we actually have two selves. The experiencing self, which lives fully in the present moment, absorbing all the sensations and emotions, and the remembering self, which is the storyteller that constructs the narrative of our lives.
And interestingly, he says that humans tend to overvalue the remembering self. We strive for picture-perfect moments, for future memories, rather than just truly savoring the present experience.
Yeah, it's like we're constantly trying to create Instagrammable moments instead of just enjoying life as it unfolds.
Exactly. So it kind of begs the question, do you want a life full of fleeting but meaningful experiences?
Oh,
Or a well-curated photo album of memories?
that's a great question.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the focusing illusion.
Okay.
Dobelli highlights this study, where participants were asked about their satisfaction with their cars.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is that their ratings were higher when they were asked about their cars specifically than when they were asked about their commute.
That's so strange.
I know. But what's happening is that our brains tend to fixate on whatever we're currently thinking about, and we inflate its importance relative to everything else.
Ah, the focusing illusion.
Exactly. And this has a big impact on our relationship with money.
Oh, for sure.
Because we tend to focus on,
Yeah.
how much we have
Well,
or how much we don't have, and we forget about all the other things that contribute to our happiness.
yeah, Dobelli argues that wealth, beyond a certain poverty threshold, is primarily a matter of interpretation.
So
Hmm.
he actually gives some very specific advice on how to manage money for happiness.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. So the first piece of advice is to have fuck you money,
Okay.
which is basically enough savings
Mm-hmm.
to be able to comfortably walk away from a job
Right.
or a situation that you're not happy with.
It gives you freedom.
It gives you freedom and objectivity.
For sure.
The second piece of advice is to ignore those minor fluctuations in income or investment.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. Like obsessing over stock prices is not going to magically make you wealthier.
Right.
The third piece of advice is to avoid comparisons with the wealthy.
Yeah, that's a recipe for unhappiness.
Exactly. Because there's always going to be someone who has more.
Always.
And then finally, even if you're wealthy, consider living modestly. Because true wealth lies not in the accumulation of possessions, but in the freedom to pursue your passions and live a life that's in alignment with your values.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to the circle of competence.
Oh.
This is a concept popularized by the legendary investor Warren Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about recognizing those areas where your skills and knowledge truly shine.
So Warren Buffett is a great example of this because he only invests in companies that he understands thoroughly. He's not chasing the latest trends or trying to time the market.
Right. He sticks to what he knows.
He sticks to his circle of competence.
Which is in stark contrast to a lot of stockbrokers who are just speculating without any real understanding of the underlying businesses.
Yeah. So the beauty of staying within your circle of competence is that it allows you to make informed decisions that are based on expertise. And this can lead to long-term success.
Yeah, it's not just about investing, though. This principle applies to all areas of life, whether it's your career, relationships, or even your hobbies.
Take some time to really identify your strengths.
Yeah.
And then focus your energy on those areas.
That's where you'll find the most fulfillment and success.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about gratitude.
Go.
Gratitude is a powerful emotion that allows us to appreciate the good things in our lives and recognize the role of luck and coincidence in our success.
But there's a challenge that we face when it comes to gratitude, and that is habituation.
Yeah.
Our brains are wired to adapt, even to positive circumstances.
The joy of buying a new house or winning the lottery fades surprisingly quickly.
Yeah, it's like we get used to it.
Exactly.
So Dobelli says that gratitude is an attempt to combat this habituation by consciously focusing on the positive. But even gratitude itself can become habitual.
So what do we do?
Well,
How do we combat that?
Dobelli suggests a couple of things. One is to introduce novelty and variety into our expressions of gratitude.
Oh, I like that.
So instead of just, you know, making a list of things you're grateful for every day, try writing a heartfelt letter to someone who has made a difference in your life.
Or taking a moment to truly savor the beauty of a simple sunset.
Exactly.
Find new ways to experience and express gratitude.
Yeah. And the other thing he suggests is to focus on specific and less obvious things to appreciate.
So instead of just saying, I'm grateful for my family,
Yeah.
think about a specific quality you admire in each member,
Right.
or a particular memory that brings you joy.
Yeah, like really kind of zero in on those details.
Exactly. Yeah.
Experiment with different approaches and find what works for you.
Find what helps you cultivate that lasting sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
Now, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. The world is an inherently opaque place, filled with ambiguity and unexpected events. Even with all the knowledge and planning in the world, we can never fully predict what the future holds.
And sometimes we can get stuck in this cycle of overthinking and analysis paralysis, which prevents us from actually taking action towards our goals.
Absolutely.
I have a friend who spent a decade researching and planning his own business,
Wow.
but he never actually launched it.
Because he was too busy thinking about it.
He was stuck in what Dobelli calls the point of maximum deliberation.
Where further pondering yields no additional useful information.
Exactly. So,
Go.
recognizing this point in our own decision-making processes is crucial,
For sure.
especially when it comes to those big life choices
Yeah.
once you've reached that point of maximum deliberation. It's time to act.
Take the leap.
Take the leap.
And trust that action often brings clarity.
So, the last tool that we're going to talk about today is the tyranny of the ego and the importance of inner success.
Ooh, I like this one.
So, our society is obsessed with external validation.
Oh, yeah.
We have these Forbes lists that define success in terms of wealth, status, and accomplishments.
It's all about keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. But this definition of success is flawed.
And it's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary, and it's also contingent on the values of our current era.
Totally.
Even Warren Buffett,
So,
frequently on those Forbes lists, acknowledges that. He wouldn't have made it onto a Stone Age Forbes list.
because he couldn't hunt or gather.
He's like, I'm not physically strong. I don't have those survival skills.
Yeah,
It's a humbling realization
it is.
that our concept of success is so
Yeah.
fluid
Right.
and culturally dependent.
So how do we break free from this tyranny of the ego?
Well, Dobelli suggests that we need to embrace what he calls inner success.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So tell me more about that.
So inner success is all about focusing on personal growth, meaningful relationships, and contributions that transcend personal gain.
So it's like instead of chasing external validation, you're finding fulfillment from within.
Exactly. It's about prioritizing the quality of your character, the depth of your relationships, and the positive impact you have on the world.
I love that. So we can't really talk about the art of the good life without also talking about how to deal with setbacks and challenges, because those are inevitable.
Oh, for sure. Life is full of ups and downs.
What did you find most helpful in terms of Dobelli's advice on dealing with adversity?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on embracing a stoic mindset.
Okay.
Recognizing that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control our reactions to it
So it's about
and how we choose to interpret those
Yeah.
events.
focusing on what you can control
Exactly.
and not wasting energy on things that you can't.
And viewing those challenges as opportunities for growth and learning.
He uses this analogy of a surfer riding a wave. We can't control the size or the direction of the wave, but we can choose how we navigate it.
Right.
We can either fight against it and risk getting wiped out.
Or we can adjust our stance and ride it with skill and grace.
I love that analogy.
It's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah. So, speaking of resilience, Dobelli also talks about this technique called negative visualization,
Oh, yes. That's a powerful one.
which was used by the ancient Stoics to prepare for potential misfortunes.
It sounds counterintuitive, but by mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios, we can actually reduce their emotional impact if they do happen.
It's
Like inoculating yourself against fear and anxiety.
yeah, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Exactly.
By mentally preparing for setbacks, we can approach them with greater composure and rationality.
For sure.
And he actually takes this a step further and talks about this concept of anti-fragility.
Oh, yes. I love that concept.
So tell me about anti-fragility.
So anti-fragility is not just about being resilient. It's about actually benefiting and growing stronger from challenges and setbacks.
So it's like
Yeah.
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger on
Exactly.
steroids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do we become more anti-fragile in our daily lives?
Well, Dobelli suggests embracing a degree of randomness and uncertainty. Instead of trying to control every aspect of our lives, we should expose ourselves to calculated risks.
So step outside of your comfort zone.
Experiment with new experiences. Embrace the unknown.
Yeah, because by doing so, we actually build a stronger foundation
And we become more adaptable.
so that when those unexpected obstacles arise,
Yeah.
we're better equipped to handle them.
Exactly.
So another important aspect of living a good life, according to Dobelli, is cultivating meaningful relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
He argues that strong social connections are essential for happiness and well-being.
I couldn't agree more.
But in today's fast-paced, digitally driven world, it can be challenging to nurture those connections.
For sure.
So, what advice does Dobelli give on how to do that?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of prioritizing quality over quantity. So instead of trying to maintain a huge network of superficial acquaintances,
Right.
focus on nurturing a few deep and meaningful relationships.
Yeah. It's about those people who really enrich your life.
Exactly.
The ones who support you, inspire you, challenge you to grow.
And he also stresses the importance of being present and engaged in your interactions.
Yeah.
Put away your devices. Truly listen to and connect with the people around you.
Create those moments of genuine connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Dobelli also offers some really valuable insights on decision-making.
Oh, for sure.
He argues that a lot of our choices are influenced by cognitive biases and heuristics
Right.
that can lead us astray.
Like mental shortcuts.
Yeah. So he provides some strategies for overcoming these biases
Ah.
and making more rational decisions.
One technique he recommends is called inversion.
Inversion.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So instead of trying to figure out how to achieve a desired outcome,
Okay.
you ask yourself, what would I do to guarantee the opposite result?
That's interesting. So you're kind of like flipping the script.
Exactly.
And by doing that, you can often identify potential pitfalls.
and avoid making costly mistakes.
I like that.
Yeah.
So another decision-making tool that he talks about is pre-mortem analysis. So pre-mortem sounds kind of morbid.
It does, but it's actually a really valuable exercise. It involves imagining that a project or a decision has already failed
Okay.
and then working backwards to figure out what went wrong.
So you're basically envisioning the worst-case scenario
Exactly.
and then trying to figure out how to prevent it.
Precisely.
So you're turning a potential disaster
Yeah.
into a learning opportunity.
And increasing the likelihood of success.
I love that. So as we're kind of wrapping up our exploration of the art of the good life, I'm really struck by the breadth and depth of Dobelli's insights.
You too.
He covers so much ground, from cognitive biases to Stoic philosophy to financial management.
And what I appreciate most is his emphasis on practicality.
Yeah.
He doesn't just present these abstract theories, he gives you concrete strategies and tools that you can actually use.
Yeah, he's like a master craftsman, providing us with a toolkit.
To help us shape our lives.
Yeah, and just like any craftsman, we need to select the right tool for the right job.
Practice our skills.
Practice our skills.
And refine our techniques over time.
Exactly. So I guess the question for our listeners is, which of these mental tools resonated most deeply with you? And which ones are you most excited to experiment with?
Yeah, because ultimately, the art of the good life is a journey of self-discovery, experimentation, and continuous refinement.
It's about embracing those tools and strategies that empower you to live more consciously, authentically, and joyfully.
I love that.
So, before we conclude our deep dive, I think it would be helpful to just kind of recap the key takeaways from the art of the good life.
Yeah, let's do a quick review.
Yeah, so these are the 10 essential principles that can guide you on your journey towards a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. All right, so let's recap those 10 potent principles from the art of the good life for enriching your life.
Okay, sounds good.
So number 1 is master mental accounting.
So with mental accounting, you can kind of use those quirks to reframe negativity. Like, for instance, instead of viewing that parking ticket as a frustrating expense, allocate it from a designated donation fund, turning it into a guilt-free act of generosity.
Yeah, love that. So principle number 2 is embrace the power of pledges.
Ah, pledges.
So to combat decision fatigue and achieve those long-term aspirations, you got to establish firm commitments. Like emulate Clayton Christensen's unwavering dedication to family time. Pledge to abstain from work on weekends, even if it means starting your workday earlier.
It's all about setting those boundaries.
Yeah. So principle number 3 is define your circle of dignity.
So this is where you build that impenetrable fortress around your core values, those non-negotiables. This might involve refusing to let financial gain be your sole motivator,
Yeah.
safeguarding your children's privacy online, or always speaking kindly of loved ones.
Yeah, it's about those core principles.
Yeah.
All right, so principle number 4 is adopt black box thinking.
Ooh, black box thinking. I love this one.
So you want to transform setbacks into stepping stones by scrutinizing past missteps. So instead of beating yourself up over a blown budget, analyze those triggers, extract valuable lessons, and implement preventative measures.
Yeah, turn those mistakes into learning opportunities.
Exactly. So number 5, prioritize the experiencing self.
Don't let the pursuit of picture-perfect memories overshadow the richness of present experiences. Put down the phone sin. Resist that urge to capture every moment for Instagram and allow yourself to fully immerse in the joy of simply being present.
Yeah, be in the moment. So principle number 6 is manage the illusion of focus.
Ah, yes, the focusing illusion.
So recognize that our brains often magnify the importance of whatever occupies our immediate attention. Challenge the assumption that wealth directly equates to happiness and embrace alternative metrics of success, like meaningful relationships and personal fulfillment.
Yeah, wealth isn't everything.
Definitely not.
Ah.
So number 7 is operate within your circle of competence.
So identify your intellectual strengths and prioritize endeavors that align with that expertise. Like Warren Buffett, focus your energies where your knowledge and skills truly excel.
Yeah, play to your strengths. All right, so principle number 8, cultivate enduring gratitude.
This is about actively combating that tendency for positive experiences to fade over time. You got to incorporate novelty into your expressions of appreciation. Write heartfelt letters to those who have impacted your life, or pause to appreciate the simple beauty of a sunset.
Find those little things. So principle number 9 is act decisively in an opaque world.
So you got to embrace the reality that the future is inherently uncertain. Avoid getting paralyzed by overthinking. Recognize that point of maximum deliberation, and once reached, take that leap of faith. Trust that action often breeds clarity.
Yeah, love that. And finally, principle number 10 is define your own inner success.
Break free from society's narrow definition of achievement and cultivate that sense of fulfillment based on personal growth, meaningful connections, and contributions that extend beyond yourself.
Yeah, find what truly matters to you.
Exactly.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure diving into the art of the good life with you. We hope these insights empower you to navigate life's complexities with greater clarity, purpose, and joy. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep living the good life.